Hello and welcome to the next video of my LPL 2024 preview series where we're going to cover FPX, otherwise known as Fun Plus Phoenix. The former world champion roster has now fallen to shambles, essentially. The last couple years, not quite to the level that we saw in the late 2010s and early 2020s. In 2021, the roster went 24-8 in the regular season. 2022, 15-17, and last year 10-22. So definitely falling off as they try and rebuild and go with a younger and younger roster. It just really hasn't panned out in any way, shape, or form. It's just not great. They made some moves, allowing both of their junglers to go as well as their bot lane. So Hacker and Bonnie are both out. Hacker went to Ultra Prime. I don't believe Bonnie signed anywhere. Korean import jungler. And then LWX went to RNG, and Chow Chow went to Thunder Talk. In terms of additions, they added Milky Way from RNG's LDL roster, Moan from Thunder Talk's LDL roster. So both of those players will go over as they battle for the jungler role. And then they added Duck Dom from DRX and Life from HLE in the bot lane. So a Korean import bot lane as well as swapped out the coach. So first, we'll start with Zhao Lahu. Zhao Lahu is a player that I thought was pretty good going into last year in 2022 and then dropped off, losing his job to Summit and then battling with Fearness last year. It just wasn't great for Zhao Lahu. He's just taking a step back. He's very one-dimensional, and his stats reflect that. So in 61 games, 2 KDA, 8.3 CS per minute, 46.6 KP. That describes him, right? He's dying a lot, getting resources, and not involved. So you say to yourself, how are you dying a lot when you're not involved? Well, that kind of goes to show you just how Zhao Lahu has been playing lately. Because the guy is dying a lot, but not getting much in terms of participation in the kills for the team, right? So he's dying on his own. 21.5 gold share, 439 damage per minute, 22.6 damage share, and only 9 champions played last year. Keep in mind, this is the entire year for Zhao Lahu. This isn't only summer. Just not great. If you're only playing 9 champions, K'Sante, Jax, and Gwen account for 2/3 of those games. We have not seen somebody with, especially in the solo lanes, with that heavy of a reliance on 3 champions last year. So definitely a big question mark there. Longmao is the LDL player behind him in 89 games, 2.6 KDA, 7.7 CS per minute, 51.9 KP. These numbers are not good either. This player is not ready for a promotion. 20.9 gold share, 492 damage per minute, 12 champions played. And then we get in the jungle. So Milky Way, we don't know his age, so it doesn't factor in here. The average age of the other 4 players are 21.5 years old. In 109 games for Royal Youth Club, I think, or Royal Club, or something is the name of the Royal Youth. I don't know, whatever the LDL roster for RNG's name is, but 109 games, 4 KDA, 6 CS per minute, 71.3 KP. These numbers are good. And from what I've heard, he is ready for this opportunity. From what people that watch the LDL have told me. 19.9 gold share, 456 damage per minute. So that's a good damage share. That's actually more than his top laner for this year. And 17 champions played. Wukong, Xin Zhao, Sejuani account for just under half of his 109 games. Moan, 21 years old, 80 games, and his stats are very similar to Milky Way, which makes me wonder if you'll give him some competition. I imagine this is going to be a position battle. 4 KDA, 5.6 CS per minute, 72.1 KP, 19.2 gold share, 399 damage per minute. So not as carry oriented. You see less resources there. Slightly more KP, less damage. And he played 18 champions with Thunder Talk Youth. So we'll see how that goes. And then behind him we have Howie. Howie's 20 years old. Played a couple games with FPX last year, early on in the split. And then played with Fun plus Blaze the rest of the way. 39 games, 3.6 KDA, 6.1 CS per minute, 67.6 KP. Pure carry-oriented jungler. I am surprised they didn't just play him this year instead of going with two different junglers that they weren't used to or had familiarity with. 19.8 gold share, 361 damage per minute, 12 champions played. And then they have Sorrow. So they have 4 junglers on the roster. And that's going to happen, or in the depth chart. And that's going to happen with a team that sucks. Somebody in the Discord mentioned how T1's depth chart isn't that strong. And I'm like, yeah, because where do you see the entry to the LCK on that team? It's not there, right? So when you look at a bad team like FPX, there's no jungler here, right? So if you're a top prospect that wants to get in the LPL, you're going to say to yourself, well, FPX might be my first route. Now, of course, there's a caveat to that. The team stinks, right? So you're going to get time to play, but you may also poison the well there. So it's definitely a risk, but nevertheless, 77 games for Sorrow, 4.3 KDA, 5.2 CS per minute, 74 KP. So opposite of Howie. Sorrow is very facilitator-oriented. 19.4 gold share, 4.26 damage per minute, 14 champions played. So we'll see how this jungler role goes for them. It's definitely a question mark. In mid lane, we have Care. So Care is 19 years old, sophomore slump last year, but still a very young player that deserves an opportunity to develop. We'll see how he does in spring. They've brought in Ching behind him, and Ching, I think, looked good at times for Ultra Prime last year. Had a couple pentas in spring, and with that in mind, there is an opportunity for even Ching to get some games in. Honestly, if I was them, I would be carrying both 2 junglers and 2 mids and kind of just go with that for spring. But Care, 66 games played, 3.1 KDA, 8.2 CS per minute. That's behind by quite a chunk. 68.1 KP, 22 gold share, 482 damage per minute, 24.5 damage share. So the bot lane was definitely what carried them last year to any sort of success they had. 17 champions played. Annie, Akali, and Ari were his 3 most played. So Akali, very big pick for Care. 45% of his games. Like I mentioned, Ching, 21 years old, played with Ultra Prime in spring. These are LPL stats. I ignored his LDL summer because these stats, I think, are a little more telling, and we can draw a little bit more from that and compare it directly to Care. 28 games, 1.8 KDA, 8.2 CS per minute. I mean, that's awful, right? If you watch my mid lane prospects video, it was not great, but then again, not many players on there stood out either. So pretty, I would say blah rookie year. 56.7 KP, not great. So you're not involved, and you're not getting farm, and you're dying. Reminds me of Jalahu and what I just said about him. 21.9 gold share, 506 damage per minute, 25.8 damage share. He played 8 champions with Ultra Prime. Behind them, they have a couple prospects. Flood, I did not include his stats because Flood played both 80 carries, support, and mid lane last year. And I am not going to put those stats on here because it's not fair to him. I think his CS per minute ended up being like 7 something. And that's just not, that would not be fair. That would just not be fair to him. I think out of his like 30 games, 10 of them were support or something. So we'll just go right to Ashes. 23 games, 4.2 KDA, 8.4 CS per minute, 63.9 KP, 22.4 gold share, 490 damage per minute, 11 champions played. So as far as I'm concerned, the mid lane pool is not great. So we're looking at a situation where they have plenty of junglers, but their solo lanes, these players need to take the next step. Jalahu needs to get his shit together, and Care needs to go into year 3 and take that next step and remind us why we thought so highly of him, or at least I did, in his rookie year. 80 carry, so bot lane I think will be fine. A lot of people giving it criticism, but I think it'll be fine. Duck Dom, 23 years old, was injured in spring, and then missed time getting, I believe, elbow or wrist surgery, some kind of arm surgery. And one has to wonder how long he played through that. And then in summer, he played with the Challenger roster for DRX. That roster doing very well, most of it getting promoted. So these are CK stats because I didn't want to include his injured stats. 37 games, 6 KDA, 10 CS per minute, 72.6 KP, 24.5 gold share, 654 damage per minute, 29% of the team's damage. So he definitely showed he is better than a Challengers player, which we all could have assumed. On average, up 385 gold, 5 CS, 10 XP, 3 solo kills, 12 champions played. Zaya, Kesa, Aphelios accounting for 65% of his games. And Aphelios one trick is the joke. Kind of like how we could say Gala's a Kesa one trick, or Fodix a Senna one trick, or whatever. Guma's a Caitlyn one trick. That these players clearly have a really good champion. And Duckdom is one of the best Aphelioses in the world. His Aphelios is disgusting. So if that's the meta, watch out. If it's not, he'll be, I think solid for FPX. Behind him, they have Zingy. Jingy's 21 years old. He's looked good at times. For sure. A lot of people thought I should have had him in my prospects video, but there was other players I just thought were better. 54 games played, 5-1 CS per minute. 5-1 KDA. 9-9 CS per minute, 70.6 KP, 25 gold share, and then this is the kicker, 794 damage per minute. A player that should probably not be in LDL anymore. He should be getting an opportunity somewhere, somehow. The lack of willingness from Western regions to try and pick up Chinese players is unfortunate. I think a player like Zingy would be nice to bring in. 12 champions played with FPX's LDL roster. Then you have Life, 23 years old as well. In 115 games with HLE, he had a 3.2 KDA, 72 KP, 157 damage per minute. A lot of people think that he's an inter. I think at times he is, but his champion pool is definitely eccentric and provides an opportunity for, an opportunity for him to really get an advantage in the bot lane. I think that's very important. 316 vision score per minute, placed over 8 wards every 5 minutes. A control ward every other minute, would clear about 2 wards every 5 minutes. And 22 champions in 115 games. Rakan, Lulu, and Rel accounting for just under 40%. Fahai, we don't know his age. On the LDL roster, 83 games, 3.8 KDA, 73.8 KP, 174 damage per minute, and 16 champions played. So a wide champion pool for him as well. FPX's roster in the LDL has been considered one of the better ones over the last couple of years, and I could see why. I know Pin Z played on it before, Ching played on it before, and they were really good at that level, showing they deserved an LPL opportunity this past year. So what will they do I'm surprised they didn't just kind of commit in the jungle role to Howie, but what are you going to do? You have Sin as the coach, 73, 56, and 17 in best of threes in the LPL and LCK, 11 and 5 in individual games in the playoffs, and 10 and 8 in individual games in international events. So, yeah. This roster is not a sexy one, to say the very least. But there's some bits of it that I think will be interesting, a roster to follow, and see if it develops and it continues to get better. Care, the mid-jungle duo is definitely going to be the big thing here. Can Care take the next step? Can Milky Way or Moan really take on this opportunity and showcase that they deserve to be at this level? So that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.